My name is John Stuart Reid. I am an acoustic physics scientist, and an event occurred in 1996 which totally changed my life because, well, my daddy and I had traveled in Egypt many times. We were both fascinated by ancient Egyptian technologies particularly, and this was the first opportunity that we actually had of being in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid all alone. You know, it's extraordinarily resonant. And so one particular experiment that I wanted to conduct was a cymatics experiment. For those of you who are not familiar with cymatics, it's simply the study of visible sound. Whenever you have sound and you have a membrane, there has to be what's termed a cymatic pattern imprinted onto that membrane. And so basically cymatic patterns are everywhere around us. Anyway, we set up this really novel experiment to make visible the resonances in that granite sarcophagus. I placed a small speaker there, and about 20 minutes into the experiment, suddenly on the surface of the membrane came what appeared to be an ancient Egyptian hieroglyph. Now this was an astonishing moment in my life. This hieroglyph was the Jed pillar. Symbolically, it's the backbone of the god Osiris. And this cymatic Jed pillar wasn't static. It was snaking, really dynamically on the surface of the membrane. And every time we changed the frequency, a new hieroglyph would appear in the sand. At the time when this was all happening, I couldn't really even think about how is this possible. But what happened, which proved to be a great gift actually, was that 3 weeks before going out to Egypt for this research mission, I quite badly injured my lower back and I was in excruciating pain. I had been to a physiotherapist a couple of times, but nothing had really touched this pain. Anyway, to cut a long story short, about 20 minutes into this experiment, I suddenly realized that there was no pain in my lower back. The pain had just completely vanished. So getting back to the UK, I immediately begun research into cymatics, the study of visible sound, but also I've been studying the biological mechanisms that underpin sound therapy and music medicine. How does sound trigger the body's healing response naturally and provide many benefits to health? There are so many benefits that come from applying specific sound frequencies to the body. This idea that Pythagoras had stated that music could be used in place of medicine. And after that amazing experience that I had in the Great Pyramid, how was it that my back was, apparently miraculously healed within only 20 minutes of making sound? So I decided to study the effects of sound frequencies and music on human blood. And it consisted of very simple experiments. We would take a test tube of human blood in the lab incubator, which has a small speaker in it. Then 20 minutes of exposure of the blood in the music incubator, and it was hard to believe the results that we were seeing. Every type of music, every genre of music that we played to the blood produced a massive increase in the viability of the red blood cells. It was really astonishing. The blood was being super oxygenated. And then when we know that almost every healing mechanism in the body is supported by oxygen, so it becomes obvious that it's a very, very important discovery that we've made. And obviously it's one of the many mechanisms that we now know is at work in terms of health benefits when we are immersed in a sound environment. Particularly the low frequencies can be readily absorbed by our bodies and therefore have positive effects not only on our blood but also on many other aspects of our physiology. And so providing a low frequency environment for anyone who has perhaps a weak heart or poor respiration and they're not getting enough oxygen into their body, that low frequency sound can actually counter that very, very easily. So all these people, who are saying they've had wonderful experiences in gong baths, for example, or Tibetan bowl baths or crystal bowl baths, these are real effects. They're real medical effects and they can be measured. So the future, I believe, is very bright for sound therapy and for music medicine.